Blog Talk Radio.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and we've got a great show. The first show back, took a little break last week, obviously, to observe Thanksgiving holiday, and we're back here and ready to go tonight. Of course, we're going to be starting off, as always, on Thursday nights with another great round of Coach's Corner, and I've got two great gentlemen who've been on many, many times on the show, a couple of my favorites, and I'm going to introduce those in just a second. And then actually next week, will be the last show of 2017. I know originally I think I said it was going to be December 14th, but it's actually going to be December 7th. So that'll be next Thursday will be the last show of the season, and then we'll take an extended break, and I'll be back ready to go on February the 8th for our regular programming. And then actually in March, the first Thursday of March, I don't have the date in front of me, we'll be adding the Coach's Corner component back on then, give the guys a little bit of extra break and get ready for their new season. But I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight here on Golf Talk Live. We're live every Thursday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Central here on blogtalkradio.com network. Simple, easy way to find us, go to blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live, or just type Golf Talk Live in the search key. And you can also listen to the program if you want on Stitcher or iTunes.com as well. Just go to the podcast section. Again, just type in Golf Talk Live, and you can listen to the show there on either of those medium platforms as well. And also, as I said, we are live on Thursdays, but for some reason, if you can't join us live, just go to blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live and scroll down to the on-demand section, and you can listen to it there, as all of the auto-recorded programs are all stored there in that section, so you can check it out there. Always love to hear from you. If you want to reach out to us on the show, you can do so by calling on Thursdays during the live broadcast from 6 to 8 Central. The number to call is area code 646-716-4667, and you can email any questions or comments to me as well during or after the show at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And if you're interested in joining in on the Coach's Corner segment, or if you want to be a featured guest on the program as well, you can also reach out to me at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And I'm going to be sending out the Coach's Corner schedule for 2018 sometime here in the next week or so. So keep an eye out for you, those folks that have been on the program before. I'll make sure I'll send you a copy out in the next week, as I said. Update on social media, Golf Talk Live blog on Facebook, Ted and Buck CEO on Twitter, of course. All right, I got a couple of great guys coming on here, and then later on in the second half of the show, my featured guest tonight is Joshua Jacobs. He's the CEO of TGA Premier Golf. We're going to talk to him. He's actually been on the show here about 2 years ago, I guess it was, and he wanted to come back on. He's got some new information and some updates that he wants to talk about, so we'll do that in the second half of the show. But let me bring our Coach's Corner panel tonight. As I said, two great guys on the show. Clint Wright, he's a 30-year member of the PGA, a partner at TGM Golf, and a big proponent of the R3 approach. One of the best, in my opinion, covering the short game today. And he's fast become one of my favorite guests and panelists here on the Coach's Corner panel. Right behind him, though, of course, is Jon Decker. Fairly new to the show, but has been on here for the last year or so, also contributing to the Coach's Corner panel. And he's currently a teaching professional at the new Albany Country Club in New Albany, Ohio. In 2015, he was named the Southern Ohio Teacher of the Year. Prior to that, he was the head instructor at Grand Cypress Academy of Golf in Orlando, Florida, where he worked under a couple of top 100 instructors, Fred Griffin and Phil Rogers. And he's also the author of a great book, Glorifying Golf is My Life, Glorifying God Through the Game, which also is accompanied by a Bible study with that book as well. And he's also a motivational speaker around the United States, so you want to check him out if he's coming to your area. And he's also featured on golfswing.com, many great videos. I think they're topping over 70 of them now. You want to definitely go to golfswing.com and check those out. Guys, welcome to Golf Talk Live's Coach's Corner.
Yeah, glad to be here, Ted.
Yeah, thank you, and glad to be with you.
All right, great. All right, well, listen, guys, we're going to jump right into it here. Welcome back to Coach's Corner. This will be the last one for you guys, I guess, this season. So I want to start things off, and I thought kind of a little bit of a review, if you will. And John, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with you this time first, and then
okay.
Clint will follow up with you. I want to ask you, what has been the biggest improvement that you've seen among your students overall this year? Specifically, what area maybe that you've been teaching them? Is there sort of been a general theme, if you will, of what you've noticed, some successes? And then also, what's been some of the most difficult for students to really grasp this season? What areas of the game do you think has been difficult for some students to grasp this year? So start with obviously the biggest improvements, and then talk about some of the areas that you found maybe some of the students have a little difficulty with.
One of the things that I'm was happy about this year, Ted, was a lot of my students. It was more or less the mindset that I was able to convey to them, the importance of the short game, trying to get them off of just focusing on their full swing, especially during their lesson time. Ultimately the student, they're paying for the time, and so if they want to do full swing, obviously I will oblige them, but I really try to stress the importance of, at a bare minimum, let's don't go an hour on the full swing. Let's at least go half and half. And I've actually started to get more students to do to fall in the short game, and as a result, their scores are lowering. And the other thing that from a success standpoint that has been very good is also trying to really emphasize playing lessons. I've gotten, I don't want my student to stand on the tee and have 5 swing thoughts. I want them to be focusing on playing the golf course. So those are the 2 areas where this year and really over the last year and a half or so, I really have seen an improvement. I think that, I'm going to talk more about the industry itself and kind of the negative things that I've seen, or the difficulties I've seen. And that's just simply in the growth of the game. I was a little bit disappointed in our junior program as far as the numbers of students that we had coming out from in years past. But I think that, for example, I'm very excited that Tiger Woods is back because whether whether you're a Tiger fan or not, Tiger Woods is good for the game of golf. He's good for the golf business, and we all know that. So that to me is exciting, and just I think with kids you're dealing with a lot of competition. You're competing against a lot of sports and stuff. So I just think getting the numbers, that was probably the only thing I could look at and go, I was a little disappointed that the numbers weren't higher. But other than that, I would say I'm very, very happy with overall the improvement I saw with all my students.
Great. Was there anything that you felt that was difficult for some of the students to grasp? Was there areas that more so than maybe another area that students, or it doesn't necessarily have to be your students, but that you find generally students have the most difficulty grasping or understanding? Was there anything that you can think of?
Well, I think that the most understood part of the game that I see from a teaching standpoint and the most intimidating is the bunker. And I think that, getting people to understand, first of all, the concept that we're not hitting the ball here. We're trying to move sand. We're trying to move the sand onto the green, and the ball will come with it. That concept, because the bunker can just bring people to their knees when they get in there, and they literally can't get out. And so, they want to, instead of embracing that and taking that and learning how to do it, they want to just avoid it altogether. And if your mindset on the golf course is I'm going to avoid the bunkers, that's not reality, because we all know that bunkers are at low areas of the golf course, and the ball is going to tend to roll to the low areas. So, you have to learn how to get over that. And a lot of that is just the mental aspect. The actual bunker shot itself is not as difficult as the average golfer may perceive it to be, but you need to be taught how to play the shot properly. And so I would say that would be an area that I see, a lot of students struggle with, and a lot of people, especially when you start talking about the longer bunker shots. And so in those situations, I'm trying to get people just to learn how to get it out. Forget about the pin. Let's just get it out and maybe go around the trouble instead of trying to go over, trying to hit the long shot. So those would be the areas where I saw the most difficulties.
Yeah, I would agree with you as well. Clint, what about yourself? Biggest improvements that you've seen with folks that you were working with this past season, and what about some difficulties that you found as well? What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think John said it quite well. Some of the difficulties that we saw, but to me, I focus on the short game almost entirely.
Sure.
So it really wasn't difficult for me to get people to focus on their short game, because when they come take a lesson from me, that's what they're coming for. So the biggest thing that I think we fight in the short game area is a perception on how the best players play some of the shots that they want to play. What we see on television is the fancy shots, the flop shots, the hard shots. We never see the little bump and run shot from off the fringe of the green because it's boring. They're not going to show that on television. They want to see the spectacular shots, right? So I think the biggest improvement I finally broke through with some of my students this year is to understand we need to play a little bit of Scottish golf. We need to start playing the game on the ground. Hit the bump and runs. Use your putter from off the fringe of the green. Give yourself the best chance. So I think, I focused a lot on that this year. Says, okay, don't bring your sand wedge to a short game lesson day because we're not going to hit that shot. We're going to learn something that will get you a better chance of getting the ball close from a lot of places. Now, obviously, we know we have to teach them some technique on how to get the ball up in the air and from certain areas, but I focused a lot with my students early on in the summer to play more bump and runs, the ball on the ground as quick as you can, and that just gives you a better chance. For nothing else, we all know this, is even when you miss hit a shot like that, you stand, it could run on up there. Your odds are better. So as far as the improvement level, it's kind of the breakthrough with a few of my students to have that aha moment. So, oh yeah, this really does work. Because a lot of the younger generations never seen, their heroes and their people they watch play those shots because they just don't show it. And,
Right.
One of the most difficult things, I think, John hit on it. I mean, the junior golf programs were short in our area this year as well, but I think there's a cycle that will come back around. And we saw some people, that hadn't been involved in golf come back a little bit this year. The weather was good. I mean, we had great weather here, so it wasn't anything really prohibitive for getting people out, so they'd come out and try it again. So as far as the other difficulties and the things I think our industry kind of lets us down, one of the things that's always amusing to me is that I have people now, and it's okay. They come in, well, I saw this on television last night, and I think I want to give it a try. Okay?
Right.
And you know what I'm talking about. They see it on one of our more popular channels, and these guys are great teachers, and they're showing general ideas on what to do, and it's just not going to work for they're up there giving a lesson that will fit a 25-year-old's back, but it's not going to fit a 60-year-old's back. But here I got a guy coming out. I want to try this shot. I said, okay, well let's try it. Let's see how you do. And I kind of use it against them. Let's see how you do with that one, and then let me show you the shot that's really going to work for you. So to me, that's the negative thing right now. We have so many areas of information, and I'm sure John fights this too, is that you have an idea, you have the technique, and, then you got to work past that quote expert that they see everywhere else. To try to get that back out of what they're doing. And to emphasize what John said about bunkers, two big problems with bunkers and the players. Not too many golf courses have practice bunkers. Some do, but we have bunkers on almost every golf course. So I put a bunker on the golf course and don't give my members or my players a place to learn how to hit that shot. So they're afraid of it. They never get to practice, never learn how, because there's no place for them to do it other than on the course maybe at a slow time of day. And the one that really gets me is how many times have you been to a golf course where there was a bunker that was designed that you could learn how to hit a fairway bunker shot out of it?
Right.
Very few.
Yeah,
but we have
we
have fairway bunkers on every golf course, and we expect our students to know how to get out of it when there's really no place for us to teach them how. Now, I'm sure Jon does, and I do too. If we get out on a playing lesson, we're going to throw a ball in there and work on it a little bit if we have a chance. But that's the biggest problem I see with the bunker shots, as Jon says, we just don't have a place for people to learn how. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of it.
Yeah, no, you're exactly well said, both of you. No, you're exactly right. And actually this sort of leads in, and you guys both kind of touched on a little bit, but sort of leads me into another question here. There's a lot of golf marketing and mass social media being presented to many of the average golfers out there. And Jon, I'm going to go back to you. In your opinion, what are some of the misconceptions, if any, that are being circulated around today that you feel? And this is just, an opinion piece. It's not, necessarily the gospel, but, there is a lot of marketing, and Clint touched on it. You've touched on it a little bit as well, but maybe if you want to just add some thoughts, and Clint, if you want to as well, jump in after,
Sure.
That's fine.
Well, that's a great question. I was taught, I was fortunate enough to learn at Grand Cypress, and I was taught with biomechanical research. I was taught with top 100 teachers who worked with, players of all levels. And I learned a system that I think is a pretty sound system, fundamental wise. I see a lot of the marketing terms that are used, like you'll hear the term plane, for example, and you'll talk about one plane and two plane and all these different things that you'll hear. But those are terms that really don't translate when you're standing over the golf ball, because you're in a three-dimensional world. You're not in a two-dimensional world when you're standing over the golf ball. So I don't refer to the swing as a plane. I refer to it as a tack. Now, it would be hypocritical for me to say that, because I just got done filming in Dallas a video that's going to be coming out in June, and it's going to be on the short game. And there's some marketing that's going to be used in that. So I realize the importance of marketing because it's part of, you're trying to, it's just like any business. You want to have a slogan or some way to attract people. So that's important.
Sure.
But a lot of times when I see statements that are made in terms of teeing, 35 and 40 yards and things like that, I don't really buy into that. Just like I don't buy into, if you take this pill, you're going to lose 40 pounds. And if you take this pill, you're going to have more hair. So I really shy away from those things. What I believe in is fundamental things that are going to translate on the golf course, because the number one thing that I care about with any student is that they lower their scores, that they don't do it the way Tiger Woods does it. They do it so that they lower their scores. I want them to come to me and say, Jon, at the beginning of the year I was a 17, now I'm a 15. I consider that a success. Mm-hmm. If they're telling me, Jon, at the beginning of the year I was a 17, I took 7 lessons with you, and now I'm a 25, then I would be out of a job pretty fast. So I want people to lower their scores. I don't want to make claims that can't be backed. And so just be aware, if they're guaranteeing you something that's going to – if they're guaranteeing you yards, this is what I say to someone. If they're guaranteeing you 35 extra yards, go out on the golf course and give yourself 35 extra yards off the tee and see if your score is lower. Because if your scores don't lower, those 35 yards aren't going to mean anything to you. What matters is that you can get the ball in the hole from inside of 35 yards. And so if you can get the ball inside the hole, inside of 35 yards, this is a guarantee. I guarantee you will lower your scores if you don't 3-putt, if you can pitch the ball on the green and 2-putt, and you can get out of a bunker in one shot and 2-putt. I guarantee you will lower your scores for the average golfer. So that's my guarantee. It kind of bothered me as a golf professional, because there is no magic pill. There is no magic, phrase or term that's going to a marketing scheme that's going to do it. it's common sense stuff, and I think, the short game is where it starts.
Yeah, I agree. And Clint, I don't know if you want to add to that. I think Jon pretty much summed it up for both of us.
He just destroyed my entire process. I mean, I got the club for 35 more yards. I got the pill to lose weight, and I rub my hair every day. I mean, it's ruined my day. I may not ever recover. No, he's right on the money. I mean, it's one of those simple things, and what he just said in a summary is exactly the thing that I put. Get your third shot on the green and 2-putt. The worst you're gonna shoot's 90. Yep. And if get the third shot on the green and 2-putt, you're gonna lower your score, and we can call it short game. We refer to it as the third shot. Right. Be really good with your third shot club. And so he nailed it. I don't need to add anything to it other than the fact that I'm just completely destroyed.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm up in those ranks now too, Clint. So I completely agree. But great job, Jon. And all right. So then, Clint, I'm going to throw this one to you then,
sure.
Since we want to try and even it out. If you only had 30 minutes with a student, a one-time 30-minute lesson, what would you advise them to do to get the most out of that time? So it's not just out of their game, but out of that time. If you only had 30 minutes with them, what would you want to instill in those 30 minutes to give them, and I don't want to use the term biggest bang for the buck, but the most out of that time? Very
straightforward and simple. I want to spend at least 15 minutes of that time educating them on how the best players actually play. How do they get around the golf course? What's the important thing for them to do to lower their score? Because when you're out on the tour or you're playing competitive golf, score matters. It's the only thing that matters. Doesn't matter how you hit it, it's how many times. So I'm going to show them the data and the stats. Here's how these guys play. Where's the money ball at?
Yep.
And then if I can get them to buy in that the money ball is the third shot. For the tour players, it's the third shot on the par 3, the third shot on the par 4, and the third shot on the par 5. If they're successful with their third shots, they're going to make a lot of money. And the stats back that up. So I'm going to take enough time to try to show them how the best players score. Then we'll, in the next 15 minutes or so, I'd like to be able to spend a little bit of time just evaluating. Hey, let me see you make a full swing. Okay, that looks okay. You're fundamentally sound. Now let's go over here and chip and putt a little bit. I want to make sure he's fundamentally sound in his golf swing, and then you can go on to that third shot idea very quickly. Now, we can't be foolish enough to think the guy can roll it on the ground every time and focus on the third shot and lower his score. He's got to be fundamentally sound at some point. But my primary thing would be to try to educate them on just how they're going to approach playing the game in order to shoot the best score they can. That's where I find the difficulty. People don't quite understand how the best players actually play. And last time I looked, we play a game. Okay? Yeah, so that's where it'd be.
Yeah, no, that's
focus my
point.
attention on that.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Clint. And, let me just add to this. I like the fact that before you even stepped out on the golf course, you're already educated. I mean, I believe in education, whatever, whether you're playing golf or whether you're, in school or what have you. Education is important. And I think that by educating golfers up front and showing them the stats, as you said, or the facts on how the better, you always hear players say, well, I'd like to play more like, or I'd like to, be able to hit shots like so-and-so. But a lot of times the areas that they're focusing on are not maybe areas that are going to help them lower their scores. It might make them look better on the golf course. It might make them a better shot maker in some respects, but it's not necessarily going to get the job done that they ultimately want, and that's to lower their scores. So, Jon, what about you? You've got 30 minutes with a student, one-time deal. What are you going to do to show them or convince them that that 30 minutes is going to be money well spent?
Well, so this is more or less just talking to them about, this is not an actual lesson, this is educating them. I just want to make sure I'm clear on the question.
You've got 30 minutes with a student. You can mix it up any way you want. Clint obviously talked about maybe. whatever. You've got 30 minutes. A student comes to you and says, Jon, I want to, improve my game. What are you going to do for them for 30 minutes to give them the best advice, if you will, or opportunity to get the most out of that time? So in other words, right? Go for it.
Sure. Okay. For me, it would be I would work with them on pitching. I would put them about 30 yards from the green, because the advantage of working on your pitch shot, number one, if you pitch the ball close to the hole, putting is easier. Two is if you can pitch it on the green, you avoid the bunkers and you avoid all the trouble, the creeks, and all the things like that. But the other thing about pitching that's great is it translates to your full swing. It has all the same sequence really of the full swing, but it helps you to lower your scores because you're developing your touch. So you're working on your sequence, you're working on your timing, and you're working on your touch. When you hit a driver, you work on timing, but you don't work on touch. And when you work on putting, you work on touch, but you don't work on power. When you work on pitching, you get the combination of both. And that, if I have only 30 minutes, and I think tour players will tell you, like I saw today, I watched Tiger. He was 1 under par. I watched him on the first 4 or 5 holes, but his first pitch shot, he chunked it. He didn't even get it on the green. Then he made the putt. But the point was, the average, he's laid off, and, obviously because of his injury. And the first thing that goes,
right.
and Clint will be the first to tell you this, and you know this, is those pitch shots, those little 20 to 40-yard shots. That's what the tour players worry. They don't worry about getting their driver, or they're not worried about going out there and 3-putting. They might worry about, the 3 and 4 footers. But the pitch shots around the green with those tight lies and into the grain and all that, that's what they worry about, because they know that if you haven't been playing a lot of golf, that's the thing to really go. So that's where I would spend the most time with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
great answers, Scott.
Yeah. Tiger shoots 69 today and hit 12 greens.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's third shot made it today.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. So many folks, and we've talked about this before on the show, so many folks spend a majority of their time on their driver and other areas of the game, and if they would just flip it around and focus more on their short game, and especially, as you said, their wedge play, they would be much better and be able to lower those scores. All right, Clint, I want to ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
What did you take away? You obviously worked with some students this year. What did you take away from working with your students this year that you feel will help you work towards an even more successful 2018? So what did you take away working with the students that you're going to reformulate? Maybe you're going to mix it up a little bit. You're going to say, you know what? This was a good year. Things went well. What am I going to do for next year that I learned from this year?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. We're always doing that. I don't think there's been a year in my career that I haven't, kind of did something a little bit different. But this year's been kind of interesting because we're in the process of formulating and improving the third shot clinics. And, we've tried 2 or 3 different approaches, and Jon hit on it. We're looking at how we can take a person in a one-day clinic and get all this information involved. And I think one of the things that we found, and I think Jon just confirmed it, is where can we get the most bang out of a technique issue, and we found it was in the pitching. Because if we can teach them to pitch the ball on the green, Jon had it right, the putting's easier. If you can pitch the ball 15 feet from the hole versus 30, you got a better chance. So those are some of the things that I had always started on putting first. But I've found that because usually I've got a 2-day deal, not a 1-day. So we're trying to get it down to a 1-day issue. And so we're probably going to make those changes that we're going to start people off pitching the ball first, then move to the green. And I'm glad to hear what Jon said, because it kind of confirms my thought pattern. And that's probably the thing we'll take away this year, of refining not necessarily what we're saying, but when we say it.
Right.
To get the proper sequence of person, we got to convince them first, and I think this is where it comes down. I've got to get the buy-in from my student, and we've reconfigured some of the wording and how we approach telling people, hey, the tour players make a living making pars on the par 3s, pars on the par 4s, and birding the par 5s. That, Tiger Woods today had 6 opportunities to make bogey. I think he made 1 because he missed 6 greens. So that means he pitched the ball up close enough to make a putt. That's the third shot out there. Pitch it up, make it, don't give the birdies back. That's the tour players thing. And we found that didn't resonate too well with some people. They didn't quite understand not give the birdies back. So we realigned how we say that. But I think the most important thing we took away from what we've done this year is the starting point on the technique. We're not going to start on the putting green in our spring stuff. We're going to start with the pitch and work our way back to the green. I feel like we tried that a couple of times with individual students, and it did kind of get them to understand that this is where the third shot takes place, right here.
Yeah.
If this is a good shot, then the putting will be easier. Yeah. So that's what we took away.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, you're exactly right, and John hit it on it as well. Obviously the closer you're going to pitch it up to the hole is going to increase your chances of making those putts as well. And
That's
and
right.
and I also like, John, you made the point about really learning to pitch. It's really a mini version of the full swing. So that, again, incorporates good technique along the way. What about you, John, as far as the season? As you look back this year, working with your students, what are you going to take away that's going to help you, be able to help many more students or even some of the same students as you move into the 2018 season?
Well, I'm really excited about 2018. As you know, 2017 has been a whirlwind for me. It started with my book tour, and I took a lot of time off doing that, and I got back into teaching up in Ohio. I was fortunate enough to be able to come back to the club after doing the book tour, and I did that in August. And I started putting out some videos on social media, and golfswing.com saw my videos. They contacted me. They said, we want to hire you. We like your presentation style. And so I started sending them videos. I've sent them 86 videos in like 2.5 months.
Wow.
They flew me out to Dallas. I filmed 120 videos, and I filmed a video, a system. It's called the Pitch Perfect Scoring System. And this video, it's going to be coming out in the first of the year, and I'm very excited about it because I really feel like that this is kind of the trend with the millennials. The millennials want to watch something. They want to watch something briefly and then go work on it. And I don't have a problem doing that. I like doing the videos, but ultimately, to learn the game of golf, ultimately you need to be in the hands of an instructor, because there's only so much you can self-diagnose and do. But it's a form, it's a way to reach people, it's a way to market. So I'm very, very excited about that and the opportunities for that. And so I'm looking forward to doing more of that and just seeing how this comes out. It was a whirlwind. I talked so much the first day doing the videos that I was literally losing my voice. And so, but it was really exciting, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah. I've actually seen a few of your videos, John, and they're great. You did a fantastic job, and I have no doubt that they'll be successful to help you for next year. But Clint, that's a great point. That John makes is, reaching out. We talked about earlier on about reaching out to sort of this next generation. I mean, certainly we're not going to forget those of us that are getting up in years, but at the same time, we want to also be able to help the game grow. We've got players that are already playing now. They've been playing for many years, and we can certainly tweak and help them play the best game. But we got to find new ways to reach some of these younger audiences and get them involved in the game, because I firmly believe that once they get involved in the game, and if they're taught properly and correctly and from the right perspective on how to be successful out in the golf course, then they're going to want to continue to play. And so I guess I'm posing the same question to you is, what are you going to take away from this year that's going to help you into 2018?
Well, as far as the Millennium level, as far as bringing more people in, you're right. I mean, right now we need in the game. He's right. Tiger needs to be back in chasing down Jack Nicklaus's record. That would help dramatically to get us in the news more. The biggest problem we see, I think, is that the millenniums age, the 20 to 30-year-old, I think we almost have to begin to develop a little bit of the top golf mentality. It's entertainment. Okay? We have to be able to entertain them. And we have a sport. We have struggled with our industry trying to understand how we make golf entertaining. And so we have to have things that at the clubs that are beyond just the sport of golf. What brings them in the clubhouse? We got TVs everywhere. We can watch 6 channels at the same time. It's entertainment. We have to begin to try to figure out how we make our sport entertainment. And if we can do that with different events, social events that happen to have a golf component, much like Topgolf, they've got a sports bar and a driving range that has an entertainment attached to a golf program. I mean, I've told people, Topgolf is like a bowling alley with a golf range. It's entertainment. They come there, they socialize, and, oh, by the way, we can hit some golf balls. So if we can take that concept of creating golf as entertainment and get it to the golf courses and the clubs, we have a chance to really have some great success in the next 5 to 10 years. Because there's a huge economic impact with the millenniums. I've got 2 daughters in that category, and they're out there driving our economy. Okay, doing something.
Yes.
I mean, they're the new career people in our economy. I mean, we're over the hill a little bit as far as our career, but but they're not. And if we can't make it entertainment, we're gonna have a tough road to hoe. So
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And so that's where we got to go.
Point because that's a great point because I've spoken to a lot of the millennials as well, and that's one of the things. For them, it's more a social. It's not, they're realistic. They understand they're not going to be the next Tiger Woods or the Jordan Spieths or Michelle Wie or whoever you want to throw out there. They understand that. Now, there are some that have that burning passion, perhaps, but the majority of them don't. But they want to have. It's all about that social connection. It's about friends. It's about getting together, and that's why, as you said, Topgolf has done such a phenomenal job of really sort of marrying the sport to. I equate it really, and I don't mean a disservice to the folks at Topgolf, but it's the modern day version of a bowling alley for the millennials, but it's just using a different theme. Because if you think about it, when I was growing up, that's where we went. I mean, we didn't have anything else. You went to the bowling alley, you met people there and friends and new people and that, and you didn't care whether you bowled well or not. You could stink. It was just a matter of that social connection. So Topgolf has found a niche in the market to get millennials. Now, out of that, what they needs to be for the industry to grapple on is now once we've got them out there and playing a little bit or piddling around a little bit is now to say, okay, let's take it to the next level. And I think, one of the problems that I see is that, the golf industry for a long time has tried to feed everybody into the tour mentality. Let's get out there and let's play competitive. And sure, we want to play competitive to a point, but we also have to be realistic that the majority of kids and youngsters out there are never going to make it out on the PGA or the LPGA tour. They just don't have the talent, and they just don't have the ability. Not everybody is going to make or break it out on the tour. So we have to find another market for them. That's something that has been lacking. And the only way that you're going to do that is to convince the powers that be to say we need to encompass this game for everybody. And I think that they're starting to get that, but it's like anything, it's a slow transition. All right, guys, I got one more question for you. It's kind of along the lines of what we've been talking about tonight. I actually had a friend of mine reach out to me through Facebook, went to school with this young lady, and she's in a relationship now with a golfer. She's never played herself, doesn't really know much about the game. So, John, I'm going to go to you first. For the listeners' benefit out there, and who knows, she might be tuning in as well, that have never played the game before, really don't know a lot. They've maybe heard about it, seen it on TV a little bit. They're interested in playing. If you were going to put together a checklist what would you put together to give them the best start? How would you advise them to start? Where would you send them, and what would you do to give them the best start for somebody that's never been involved in the sport? So you've got a one-shot deal. I want to get you interested in the sport. What would you do to give them that checklist?
That's a great question. I'm glad this is not a relationship question, because you scared me there for a second when you started out. But this is from a golf standpoint, I can answer the question. Relationships, maybe not. But what I would suggest to your friend is I would try to get her into a clinic. Very very much like the Golf Get Ready is a great way to get started. Find yourself a good pro in your area, do a little networking, make a few phone calls or whatever. Find someone or talk to friends, girlfriends or things. But, usually women like to take lessons in groups. And I've had so many women who they want to learn, their husband plays or their boyfriend plays, and they want to learn, but they're intimidated. So they team up with another friend. And that's a great way to do it. Find a girlfriend or it could be a guy friend or whatever. And try to get involved in a clinic and take a serious. You have to learn golf you can't learn it in 30 minutes or an hour. We all know that. If you take a series of classes for like 5 or 6 weeks in a row, or if you could go 5 weeks out of 10 or something like that in the summer, that is an excellent way. And you just do it in baby steps. And the Golf Get Ready program is real basic. You learn putting, you learn the pitching, the full swing, you learn the rules and the etiquette, and you get out on the golf course. So that's a good way to do it. If you're at a golf course that has the Golf Get Ready program, that's a great formula to go with. But I would look for any kind of clinic. I think clinics are great ways to get started, because when you learn with a group of people who are novices, just like yourself, you don't feel as intimidated. Because you sit there and when you miss the ball, and we've all done that. I remember missing the ball when I first started. You kind of laugh about it, and because everyone else is struggling as well. And a lot of times when you take a one-on-one lesson, which a lot of people like to do, and you miss the ball, you think to yourself, "Oh my gosh, the pro has never seen this. I must be the worst player in the world." But that's not the truth. Right. We've all done that. I the first thing I tell a beginner is, listen. The first time I swung and tried to hit the ball, I missed it. So that kind of gives them that sense of, okay, this is normal, and they just go from there. So I would recommend some sort of clinic along those lines.
Yeah, I agree. One of the other things let me just throw in real quick, and then Clint, I can get you to add some thoughts there as well.
Sure.
One of the things that she asked me, which again is something I think that is more in tune with what women's needs and things are, is she wanted to know about really what to wear. She's never played golf. She doesn't know what the protocol or the attire is. And of course the women have a much bigger selection out there than the guys do. So I, gave her the website links to some great entrepreneurs that have been on our other show, The Women of Golf, with Cindy Miller and I. And they've just got some phenomenal products, and introduced her to a couple of women that I think are really great with the game, that could sort of also give her some advice. But one of the things that I said to her, which was kind of interesting, and this is one and I'm going to say this from my standpoint, you guys may agree or disagree, but I said, first and foremost, I don't care if he's a scratch golfer, do not take lessons from your boyfriend or husband or spouse, whatever the case may be. Go to a qualified professional. And I'll tell you why. Because I have seen more marriages, I've seen more relationships go south real quick, and I don't mean south to Florida. I mean south in how they treat one another. Because, first and foremost, unless he's an extremely good golfer, you're going to pick up his bad habits. If he's struggling with his game and now he's going to try and teach you, you're going to pick up all of his bad habits. So you want to go to a qualified professional. And I suggested, and I certainly don't mean to disrespect the guys out there, but I even suggested maybe going to a female instructor in her area just to add that additional level of comfort. But again, going to a qualified professional. What was kind of interesting in some of the dialogue that went back and forth between her and I was that she agreed 100%. he, on the other hand, didn't agree. He couldn't understand why he couldn't teach her. And so I gave her a few other comments and told her to go back, and hopefully, she straightened him out. But that's something that I've seen. I've had personal friends that have tried to do that with their wives, and it's not going to work. So,
no.
But
good
what
advice.
about you?
First of all, your friend's boyfriend's an idiot if he thinks he can teach her how to play. But yeah, that's his problem. I'm telling you. And John's right. I mean, you just have to go to where find that comfort zone. But I would probably encourage her, maybe for her and her boyfriend, late in the afternoon, just go out and play 3 or 4 holes. Just get out there on the course and try, just to give a go at it, and then get some good instructions. But I'll relay a very quick story to you, and I think John's exactly right in what he said about the people feeling uncomfortable by whiffing it. My wife, when we first met, she had never played golf before in her life. So but we'd go out and play, and she thought everybody played like I did, which at the time I was playing pretty good, okay? But finally I talked the ladies at the club to take her out with them. Go play. Just go. She came back in and says, everybody plays like I do. Mm-hmm. Everybody rolls it on the ground. And it made her feel so much more comfortable to go out and to play, because she saw that the other ladies rolled it on the ground sometimes too. So I think that's real important for somebody to explain to this lady, is it's okay if you roll it on the ground for a while, because we all did. I think that's the biggest stumbling block for beginners, men and women, that are particularly come into the game late, in their 20s and 30s, is that they see so much of it on social media, they see it on television. That's the way people play golf. They're watching the best 125 players in the world play and think everybody plays that way. So I make a point around the course, so you got to tell them and show them. I actually sometimes will take a person that I know feels uncomfortable with that, and we sit on the range for a little bit and watch other people hit it. Just sit on the range and watch them.
Yeah,
And I want you to understand now.
Great.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to understand what they do.
No,
so when you're doing the same thing, well, I want you to see what they do. Some of them get in the air and then they hack it and they whack it, and here they go. And when they get up there, they don't feel quite so uncomfortable because hell, everybody else was doing that.
Right.
So that comes back to that education thing again. Just how does the average person play the game? Not very well, is the answer. So give yourself a little space here. And she needs to understand that. Be patient with herself. Don't expect too much, and then just enjoy the day.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what I said to her is, you want to go out and have fun, and the other thing too, which is a big no-no for any of you guys listening out there, if you're thinking of getting your spouse, and another problem as well that I've seen, and then we'll wrap it up, is the spouse will go and take some golf lessons, and there's 2 scenarios. One where, he will be there at the lesson, of course, critiquing everything that the coach is saying, or he'll try to make changes when they get back and they're, maybe having their own little practice session, and she's trying to focus on what the coach or the teacher's been showing her, and he's trying to make change. Well, you need to do this. And so he's unraveling and unwinding what the golf professional has been trying to get her to do. And that's also another no-no. I mean, the best thing that you can do, guys, if you want to give your girlfriend a gift to enjoy the game as much as you do, buy her some lessons and then back off. Pay for some lessons, maybe go out and help find a good professional that she's comfortable with. It doesn't matter whether you're comfortable, it's whether she's comfortable, because she's going to be taking the lessons. Pay for it if you want, however you want to work it out, and then step the heck back and let her enjoy it and become better. And then your enjoyment of the game will be much better as well. Guys, I know it was pretty light tonight on Coach's Corner, but as I said at the beginning, we're wrapping up the season. Let me first and foremost say, guys, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show as much as you have. I know it's not always easy when we've got a day job to be able to drive home and then come on air with me here on the Coach's Corner panel. But I appreciate all of your thoughts and your input here in 2017, and I look forward to both of you joining me in the new season in 2018 as we start things up again in March for Coach's Corner. But guys, Clint, I'm going to let you go first. But Clint, if you want the folks to reach out to you, or if there's anything special you want to say, now's the time. And then, John, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, Ted, this has been a great year, and to be honest with you, this show's been fun. I mean, the last 3 or 4 shows have been some of the best that we've done over the years, and I certainly enjoy being part of them. And John, it's been nice the last 3 or 4. I think the last 2 or 3 times we've been on together, it's kind of fun to hear your comments about the short game and the direction you're wanting to go, because it's very much right in line with what we need to be doing. I agree. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. The end of this year is going to be great. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. And we'll look forward to maybe talking a little bit more maybe in February.
Sounds good. John?
Ted, first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity to be on the show, and I have just thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's been an honor and a privilege. And Clint, I really enjoyed being on with you. We do have a lot of the same ideas, and I look forward to one day meeting you in person and getting to know you even more. If you want to watch any of my videos, I would go to golfswing.com. And I'm also, you can follow me on Facebook. Again, I spell my name Jon. I'm under Jon Decker Golf Instruction on Facebook. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn. And I have a book that I wrote. It's a Christian book with a Bible study. But the book is Golf is My Life, Glorifying God Through the Game. And that's on, you can go to Barnes & Noble or Amazon to order the book. And I think it makes a great Christmas gift. And to all the listeners, I want to say, I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas. And I look forward to being on the show in 2018.
Well, we're going to, again, thank you guys. We're going to have a great show in the new year. I got lots of great, we're going to have some additional special guest panelists that are going to be joining us next year. We had Brett Cohen was this year. We had some others lined up. Unfortunately, their schedules conflicted, so I wasn't able to do it this year. But I've already got a bunch of them lined up for next year that are going to be jumping in with some more interesting topics that we're going to tackle next year. Always try to, kick it up a notch as we go along. And, I like to keep things fresh, and I think I get a lot of great feedback about all of you guys, not just the 2 of you, but everybody that's been participating this year and previous years on the Coach's Corner panel. They really enjoy this part of the segment of the show, and not just the average golfers out there, but a lot of your fellow pros as well get a few nuggets that they can take away from as well to help win their own careers. So, John and Clint, thank you very much as always. And for some reason, if we don't connect before, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to both of you. God bless, and thank you as always for joining me on the Coach's Corner panel.
You're welcome, Ted. See you later.
Thank you, Ted, and God bless, and
right.
Have a Merry Christmas, Clint.
All right.
Okay.
All right. That was the Coach's Corner panel tonight. Jon Decker and Clint Wright. Thanks, guys, for doing such a phenomenal job. As always, I'm going to be joined here in just a few moments by my very special guest tonight, Joshua Jacobs. He's the CEO of TGA Premier Golf, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about him as wait for him to come on board. Joshua has actually been on the show before. He founded TGA Premier Golf in 2003 at 6 Los Angeles elementary schools. TGA's program quickly evolved into the first self-sustaining and scalable junior golf delivery system that makes learning and playing golf available to the masses. With 70% of TGA participants and their families having never played golf before, the introductory and recreational model has become the industry leader, growing participation through youth and their millennial parents. Jacobs was named by Golf Magazine as one of the top 40 most influential people in golf under 40 and was recognized as one of golf's innovators by Golf Inc. TGA, which means Teach, Grow, and Achieve, delivers after-school golf enrichment programs, camps, parents-child tournaments, and leagues at 3,400 locations across 60 markets in the United States. To date, TGA has over 740,000 participants and has a 501c3 nonprofit arm, the TGA Sports Foundation, dedicated to changing lives through sports. TGA is scaled through a franchise model. TGA Premier Golf was franchised in 2007. TGA launched its second franchise concept, tennis, in 2012 in partnership with the United States Tennis Association, so it's expanding even to other markets, and recently launched its latest youth sports venture, team sports, with flag football, lacrosse, cheerleading, ultimate frisbee, floor hockey, and volleyball programs. Jacobs has served on PGA of America national boards, the Southern California PGA's Foundation Advisory Board and Player Development Board, the World Golf Foundation Advisory Board, and the USTA's National Schools Committee. He graduated from Emory University with a degree in economics and business and a minor in history, where he also played varsity golf and club tennis. So very well-rounded individual. It's been an honor to have him in the past, and as I said, he's going to be joining us here in just a few moments, but I thought I would read that out because I know it was quite a bit. Let me just very quickly remind everybody just a couple of things. I want to make a couple of notes here on the show. Next week, for both of the shows, of course, every Tuesday from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I have the Women of Golf show with my very special co-host, LPGA Professional Legends Tour player Cindy Miller, who joins me each and every Tuesday. Next Tuesday, which is the 5th, I believe, of December, is going to be the last show for 2017, and we will be firing back up again on February 6th in 2018. So December 5th, which is next Tuesday, will be the last show of this year. We were going to go a little bit longer, but unfortunately we had to close it off a week earlier just to some scheduling conflicts. And also the same with Golf Talk Live. December 7th, which is next Thursday, will be the last Golf Talk Live show of the 2017 season, and we'll be firing that back up on February 8th. Now, just another quick side note with respect to that. Golf Talk Live, of course, is a 2-hour show, as most of you know, and always proceeds with a great round of Coach's Corner. The Coach's Corner panel segment will not commence until the first Thursday of March of next year. So the show will start. I'll have some great guests and some other great topics and that we'll have discussed for the first month as the show gets ready to relaunch for next year. But Coach's Corner will not officially take place until the first Thursday night. Unfortunately, I don't have that date in front of me in March. So that'll give time for the panelists to check their schedules and to make sure we get the schedule put together, which I will. I know I was supposed to have it out by the end of the month, and it is the end of the month. But I'll be sending that out here real quick in the next few days. So keep an eye out for you coaches out there and teach professionals that have either been on the Coach's Corner panel and want to come back on for next year. I'll be sending that email out here real quick. And for those of you that maybe are tuning into the show and maybe you're a teach professional or a golf coach and you'd like to throw your hat into the mix on Coach's Corner, shoot me an email. My email address is ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. That's ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And I will make sure that I send a copy of the Coach's Corner schedule out to you in the next week or so. So if you want to be included in it, make sure you send me an email indicating your interest in being a part of the Coach's Corner panel, or maybe you've been on the panel in the past and for some reason you've fallen away for the last year or so to other because of other scheduling commitments, and you want to come back in. Always welcome to have you come back in on the panel discussions. We've got a lot of great shows coming up in the new year, so you definitely want to jump on board for that. So again, reach out to me at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. As I mentioned, my special guest tonight, I've already read out most of the information, but let me just remind you, Joshua Jacobs is my special guest tonight, and he is the CEO of TGA Premier Golf, and he's ready here now, so let me bring him on board, and we'll continue some more great discussion here on Golf Talk Live. Good evening, Joshua, and welcome.
Hi, Ted. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Should I say welcome back, Joshua? You've been on the show, I know, before. And glad that we were able to connect again and have you back on as our second last show of the season. And we're getting ready for an exciting 2018, as I know you are. And so thank you, and I appreciate you joining me on the show tonight.
No, of course. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. All right, Joshua, I've already read out, as I mentioned to the listeners, I've already read out all of the background information on TGA and that. But I want to just talk about one of the things about TGA's franchising model. I mentioned that as well, and it's really become one of the fastest growing introductory golf programs in the industry. And you're able to now boast with literally over 750,000 participants to date. How did you come up with this franchise idea with schools, and why has this introductory program become so successful? What's sort of the magic formula, if you will, and for the success of this program?
Well, I think the magical formula is that it's more about the model and the infrastructure of the business than it is about the curriculum. I'm not disputing any of our curriculums, and they're great in terms of being a lot more than just about golf. But what we've come to learn is that golf is grown by local stakeholders and communities. And right now, those local stakeholders are the PGA and LPGA professionals, and they're mainly based at the golf courses. And as we all know, 97% of America doesn't play golf, and the majority of the messaging that's going out to the golf industry is to people who already play. And so what we're doing is we're making golf available and accessible to those who don't play by bringing it to schools, community centers. We start them as young as 3 in pre-K. We're concentrated mainly in elementary schools. That's really that sweet spot in 5 to 10 years old. And we go as high up as middle schools. So I think the model is really the differentiating factor in having a local stakeholder who is vested in growing the sport. That's really what differentiates us.
Yeah, and that's a great point. The other thing, too, that was really interesting when I was reading out some of the information, which really sort of struck me, was that the immense percentage, 70+% of all of the participants and their parents have never played golf before trying your program and being involved with TGA. Which, again, is really going after a lot of the millennials and bringing them and attracting them into this sport. Again, this is something that the golf industry has been trying to do for a number of years unsuccessfully. What do you equate that to? Obviously, you've run a successful business model, and what can the industry learn from what you're doing to maybe even further expand other programs out there to be able to get after this market?
Well, I think there are some successful programs out there. Chris Hart with Next Gen Golf does a great job with attracting millennials.
Yes.
So I think there is some traction there. I think if that can get some additional traction and scale, it'll be extremely beneficial to the industry. But what we do differently is we're kind of going the back route, right? So we're getting the kids first, and then we're getting the parents. And what we've learned is that if when our parents don't play and the kids play, that they want to get involved. Golf is more of a individualistic sport, and it takes a lot of time. And as we all know, sometimes it can be cost prohibitive. So when we get the kids, we're able to get the parents. I think that's the differentiation between what the industry is doing right now, and they're trying to get the parents first. And they're a hard group to catch. Millennials. They want different things than what the industry is selling. And so it really lessens the demand for the program at that level. But if we can get the kids, and then we can make it fun, and then we can engage the whole family, we've got a greater opportunity for success. Yeah,
and you're exactly right in your analogy. I think one of the problems with the industry that I've seen as well is going after the parents that have never played before. It's good we want to encourage new golfers, but if they're already in their 30s and maybe even in their 40s and have never played, it's much harder to get them involved in something that they've never played as a youngster. Whereas if you, as you pointed out, if you get the kids involved and they're excited and interested in playing, the parents will naturally gravitate. It's much like any other sport. If little Johnny is interested in playing football or soccer or baseball, the parents want to come out and be supportive. And if the child is interested in playing golf in this particular case, then, and even not necessarily at a collegiate level or even, has aspirations of playing on the tour one day, but just enjoys playing it, then the parents are more inclined to want to get involved as well, to participate somehow with their child. So I think it's a great approach that you have here, and it's definitely something that the industry really needs to take note on. And you've obviously done a great job because you've been on a lot of advisory boards talking about this very thing, correct?
Yeah, I think the industry does some great things when it comes to talking to consumers, but one of the challenges that we face with only 3% of America playing golf is we face the consumer education challenge. Parents don't really know what to do with their kids if they have an interest in golf. And once they have an interest, they need to have more information on a player pathway for where they can take their newfound passion in the sport. We all know that we've got the golf bug, right? So we want to be able to instill that into the kids and the parents, which is only going to progress it further. And I think that we can do a little better job in programs that activate kids that are scalable and replicable across the country. A lot of other industries do that, and I'm not just saying sports. I mean, you've got tech. Right. The tech world does a great job at that with their incubators.
Oh.
So, I think that there's a tremendous opportunity out there because once you activate the kids and you engage them, you have that open line of communication to the parents, and that's where we excel. We're always giving them progress reports on what the kids are doing. We're always telling them the next steps, and we have their data, so we have the ability to communicate with them. And that's what millennials want. They want to be communicated with. They want to be in the know.
Right, exactly. This past Tuesday, I had on my other program, Women of Golf Show, which really focuses towards the female market. My co-host, LPGA professional Cindy Miller, and I, we had the honor and pleasure of having Susie Whaley, who is a vice president of the PGA of America, and is actually going to be the first female, the first woman president of the PGA of America next fall, which is a huge, huge milestone. And she talked about how the biggest growth in the game is actually young female golfers ages roughly about 6 to 17. Are you noticing that trend as well through your programs? Is that you're getting a lot of female participation now?
Absolutely. We have 40% female participation. In regards to Susie, I know her, and she's going to be a wonderful president of the PGA. She runs tremendous programs out there in the Hartford area, and she's going to be a wonderful advocate for the sport and the industry. We're 40% female participation now, and what we've learned is through our programs of making golf available and accessible by bringing it to the masses, it really increases the probability of females attending our programs because it's very convenient, it's not threatening, and they can do it with their friends in a familiar environment. And it's a little bit different sell than with the male group, but overall, when you can add those factors together and you can provide that solution, your probability increases that they're going to partake in the activity.
Now, what do you specifically in your programs? You obviously have factored in an approach, if you will, to teaching the game to the kids, and particularly kids that have never played before. What specifically do you do? I mean, you're obviously not just taking them out in the golf course and hitting golf balls. There's another component to it. Talk a little bit more detail about how the program works and how you introduce some of these kids that have never played the game before. How do you introduce them to the game?
So first things first, when what separates our program is bringing it into the schools and the community centers, and so we need to make it as much about the academic progress as it is about the golf progress for the students. We have to be able to, sell golf to schools to be able to teach it there. And so what we do is the first thing that we do is we make a station-based curriculum. So it's fun. The kids are never standing in line. They're always doing something. They're exercising. They're learning about rules and etiquette. They're doing academic subjects as it relates to golf. And we're now I think we were the first, but now we're one of the only programs out there to do STEM labs in our programs, and that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We do 20 to 25-minute STEM labs, I believe, every other week, where they're learning about those concepts as it relates to golf. So as they're actually learning golf and they're playing it for the first time, they're actually understanding how and why it happens. And that's really the key for us in our model in bringing it to the masses. That it's really key is that it needs to be more than just golf. And then obviously hiring and training instructors and coaches who make it fun and engage the kids. That's just as important because, parents bond to brands, especially in youth sports, but the kids bond to people. They bond to coaches. So we need to make sure that we touch upon both the curriculum as well as have the branding be consistent throughout our programs to increase the probability that they're going to stay in the player pathway and stay in golf.
Yeah, well said. And I agree wholeheartedly with you, Joshua, as well. Bringing it into the schools, I think this is something that has been long overdue for golf. I mean, virtually every other sport, certainly the major sports, has been very well rooted in the school system. And golf is, with the exception, again, of collegiate golf and even some high school golf, really has not, at the elementary stage anyways, has been, and part of it has been, of course, cost and accessibility to courses and things like that. But you've obviously developed a program that you can actually take into the schools, introduce into the game, and we're going to talk about this here in just a moment, but now you've actually even created a player pathway to help not only juniors but the families as well take it from the schools out to the golf course. So you've actually funneled it very smartly in taking it to the next stage, if you will. So talk a little bit about that. How does that work, and how have you so far, with some of the feedback, how is that helping to impact maybe some of your courses that you're working with?
So we transition about 35% of our kids and families that we can track from schools to the golf course. So we've proven that you can bridge introductory programs from non-golf facilities to golf facilities. And as I said before, you've got two reasons why you're doing that. Number one is kids bond to people. And so you have coaches who are not only in your school programs, but they're also in your golf course programs, in your more recreational programs, so I'll get into in a second. The second is the branding. We're the first touch to golf. So when they see TGA Premier Golf, they're also seeing it being offered throughout the community at the golf courses. So we have the ability to really tell the story, tell the tale, and really solve that consumer education problem. And what we do is we offer these programs at the facilities, at the golf courses, and we offer recreational programs such as camps, clinics, play days, even parent-child events to engage the entire family. And that is really what gets the player pathway started. If you can get them from introductory to recreational, you have a higher probability of getting them to the competitive level. And as we all know, that's the pinnacle of junior golf. We have, I think it's 3 million kids that play junior golf, and I think there's over 300,000 kids that play competitively. And that's an incredibly high rate compared to some other sports in their participation. So, with college scholarships available and, the lucrativeness now of the PGA Tour, you've got a lot of room for people to see the opportunity for the growth.
Yeah, and that's something that I've been very excited about. And when Susie was on, we talked about some of the stats that were out there and how many, especially the young girls that were coming into the game. We want to get them early enough. I've had many other guests on the show that run a lot of different junior programs, and they said that one of the key elements is getting them young enough before they get entrenched in something else. Now, that doesn't mean, we don't want them to play other sports. That we're not that unrealistic. But if they're not introduced to golf early on, then the percentage of them taking up the game later in life decreases quite a bit. So obviously you had to do some research along the way to look into that. What are some of the findings that you're seeing, and how young do you work with? What age group do you start at with TGA Premier?
So we start them as young as 3 in pre-K, and I think the key for golf is to put it on a level playing field of all of the other core sports. The other core sports you can play at schools, whether elementary school, middle schools, et cetera. But, golf has never really had the opportunity to be put on those campuses. So you can start them as young as you can, I would say starting at 3, as long as you've got the right program, the right equipment, and you have the right form to be able to do it. So there is latent demand for the sport of golf, and people want to learn it. So
yes,
it's there. We just have to go take it to them and make it available to them. and that's really what TGA is known for. So I feel confident that we're in good hands when it comes to growing the sport, especially amongst the female level, the female gender.
Mm-hmm.
We have that opportunity again when it comes to females. It's non-threatening. It's with their friends. It's in a safe environment, and that's really the first step to get them comfortable and on their way to becoming a golfer.
Yeah, excuse me. Pardon me. And that's a great point too, Joshua, because young girls particularly are very social creatures, much more than young boys. I mean, young boys will pal around with their friends, but they can do things on their own. Girls like to be in a group environment and feel less threatened when they're in a group environment. And this is one of the problems that I've heard over the years for young girls that maybe don't have aspirations of playing competitive golf is, well, I want to do something that my friends do. So obviously, again, you've made it enticing enough, and the fact that they're able to play with peers of not just the boys, but also within their own gender. So it makes it a more comfortable environment for them and non-threatening, as you said, so they're more inclined to want to get involved. The other thing, too, that I want to just touch on real quick, and I'm sure this is something that you're thinking about down the road as well, is more and more people, especially women as they get into adulthood, are starting to understand the benefits of business golf. Not everybody's cut out to play on the tour or even play collegiate golf, but at some point in their career, there are opportunities that can open up through the golf course. Is this something as well that you try to incorporate? I mean, obviously not with the 3-year-olds, but as you work through the program, to make them aware of other opportunities that could be available down the road, should they take up golf?
Ted, we want to be mindful of what we're great at. I don't think we want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. So we recognize
right.
when it comes to these introductory and recreational programs, when it comes to kids and families, that's really where we want to be. When it comes to the parents,
okay.
we have a great opportunity to provide communication to them in terms of what's available in their area. And that's where
right.
we would really look to pass them off in terms of the golf courses and the professionals. But I can tell you, we've tried this in the past. It's not that it hasn't worked; it just hasn't been our concentration. And when it comes to that
right.
that female population about business, absolutely, there's a huge demand for it. And I believe the successes lie in making it fun. Believe it or not, having a bit
yep.
of alcohol or socialism or social
right.
social aspects involved, but that's not socialism, but yeah, those are really the keys. You get them to be in a non-threatening environment, and you've got a social setting for them and a group setting, just like you said. That's really the key. But for us, we're going to pass them on to the golf courses and let the golf courses take those programs. We want them to. It's really benefiting them. We're already growing the pie for them in terms of bringing them new participants. We're generating revenue, and we partner with over 250 golf courses across the country. We're generating revenue for them
wow.
because we're running camps and we're running clinics for them, and we're bringing them new clientele. It's very non-threatening. And it's really a great win-win situation, especially with us in the communities being able to bring in not only the people that we activate directly with our programs, but also we have the ability to directly to the entire schools and the districts. So we have the ability to activate an entire community, and we feel like that's a powerful message to have.
Yeah, that's huge. I agree with you, Joshua. And obviously, the fact that you're bringing the game and the sport into the school system, you're also creating an opportunity that as they grow, they can take it whatever direction they want. If they want to, as I say, if they're going to be young entrepreneurs at some point and they want to incorporate that, the main thing is you're, in a sense, planting the seed, if you will, in a lot of these youngsters that maybe otherwise wouldn't have had that opportunity unless their families have already played golf. I want to touch on something else, too, and that's obviously the cost factor. One of the biggest problems that has been in golf, and one of reasons why I think it's been so slow in getting into schools and into even communities on a greater level is the fact that golf traditionally has been a much more expensive sport than many other sports out there to get involved with. And you guys you actually provide all the equipment for the program, including your own line of golf clubs for kids. Obviously, there was a need for that. Why do you feel it's important? And describe how big of a barrier of entry into golf you think the equipment can be for beginners.
Well, certainly having the right equipment in order to fit the beginners is extremely important because, these kids are choosing, and the parents are choosing 30 to 40 plus activities to get involved with. And they need to have success quickly.
Right.
And we all know that success with golf, it doesn't come quick. We all know that.
Right.
And so if you have right-sized, custom-fit equipment for kids, you're going to have a higher probability of success that they're going to get, they're going to get the balls up in the air. They're going to see that. I mean, I can tell you the reason I was hooked on this program, the first class that I ever taught, it was like a 6-year-old, if I remember correctly. It was in first grade, and he was having an okay time. And then all of a sudden, he hit a ball up in the air, and he had the biggest smile on his face watching that. And from there, he was hooked. But if you don't, we all know because most of us grew up with cut-down clubs that were too heavy, et cetera, and you may not have experienced that success unless you had significant athletic ability or it was just built inside of you. So for us, that custom-fit equipment is essential when it comes to activating these kids and engaging the families because their success is going to come that much quicker. We do have our own equipment line. We have both boys and girls clubs. There's 5 different sizes for each, and we use it to custom fit the kids in all programs, whether it's their first time playing golf or they're 40 weeks into the program. Golf needs that. We need to break down the barrier of how quickly of how long it takes people to get good at golf, and that's certainly one component to it. So I can't stress enough. I know there's been a huge movement in the golf world to do that, especially at the adult level, and it's one of the best movements we've had. It's now time, though, to grow that base, grow participation, and do it for everybody.
One of the things that impresses me about your approach to this program with respect to the equipment is one of the other criticisms of the industry as it's always, this sort of eliminates the excuse of, well, it's a rich man sport, so to speak. You can actually go into, even into inner city communities with your program at some point if you're not already. And because you're now making it all encompassing, including the equipment, there's no cost, issue for a lot of these participants anymore. And this is a big barrier that the golf industry has tried to overcome. And it sounds like you've sort of helped that process along by doing what you're doing. Would that be an accurate assumption?
Well, I think anytime you can make golf available to the masses in a program that fits across every demographic, you're breaking down those barriers of elitism. And, that is the way golf is known. But as we all know, the average rate to play a public golf course is, I think it was like $32, if I'm not mistaken, at the last calculation. So it is affordable. It's just a matter of when you get into the game, and then once you engage the new golfers, how we keep them in the game. So it's not only engaging new golfers, but it's also retaining the new golfers. And that's going to be done through consumer education. It's going to be done through programs executed at every level of a golfer's pathway, and that's introductory, recreational, and competitive. I think the golf industry does an amazing job at the competitive level. We have so many great programs, especially at the junior golf level. We've got the drive, chip, and putt. Got PGA Junior League Golf. They are as much introductory and recreational as competitive, but with their national championship, it certainly has that competitive element to it. We have AJGA. We have the PGA sections. We have it's phenomenal the amount of growth and opportunities the kids have to play competitive golf. When you circle back, though, the introductory level in growing the pie and the participants in golf is more relevant now than it ever has been, and so we that to me is where the industry needs to shift its focus a little bit. All right, well, we've got the pinnacle for where you can go with it, college scholarships and all, and tours, et cetera, but we need to grow the pie. We need to grow that pyramid and that base, because that is what affects the entire industry. That is what affects the manufacturers. That's what affects the apparel companies. That's what affects the magazines, the radio shows, the tour, the viewers, everybody. And so I think I'm hopeful that over the next 2 to 5 years, the industry looks strongly at increasing introductory programs in the system. Yeah,
I agree wholeheartedly. And this is something that I agree with you, I think is starting to happen now. It's like anything, any change that you make sometimes can be slow growing. But I think there's a momentum building now that people are hungry for it. I mean, with the introduction of organizations like Topgolf that have sort of gone into approaching golf from a different market has also been good for the game as well. And I think that my generation, I'm 50 plus. We've been playing golf. I grew up. My father took me out the first time to the driving range, and then we went out on the golf course. And, so it was sort of ingrained from a very early age. But a lot of the youngsters coming up in today's society don't have the same opportunities because the generations are different. They have different interests. There's more competition for their time. So it's even more important that we get them started, as I said earlier, started younger to give them an opportunity and increase that pie. Because, as you pointed out, Joshua, it's great that we've got all of these different organizations that are ultimately increasing junior golf competitively, but that's a very, very small percentage of golfers out there that are ever going to make it to that level, even collegiately, that just don't have the skill set. So, you have to have something in place that will cover the rest of the folks out there that maybe don't have aspirations of playing on the LPGA or the PGA Tour, but would like to play and enjoy the game. So there has to be some way of introducing them to the sport as well, and not feel that they're emboldened to follow some competitive path. And it sounds like you've got a great formula with TGA of doing just that. So kudos to you and your team. One of the interesting things, Joshua, is as we sort of wind down the season, where winter's approaching here, the weather's going to start getting a little cooler. I mean, it's still pretty mild in a lot of areas, but it's going to start getting cold. One of the great things, I want you to talk a little bit about that, about the advantage of your program is that you can run it all year round. Talk about that and some of the benefits of being able to do that.
Well, we realized very early on when we started the program in Los Angeles in 2003 and we franchised the concept in 2007, we had a number of inquiries in 2005, 2006 from around the country, especially from the East Coast, about, how does this program work? Can you do it year-round? Tell us what you know, and we'd like to start it up. And we realized very quickly that, again, there is demand for people to learn golf. And so we know that we had to create a curriculum that worked year-round. And so we have a multi-level curriculum along with a station-based curriculum. It's multiple levels, so it's 5 levels that keeps the kids engaged and invested in the sport. And there are some statistics out there that show that the more money parents spend on a sport, the more likely they are to stay in it. So the more vested you are, the more likely you are to stay in the sport. And what we did was we created a curriculum that was not only station-based and multi-level, but also had the ability to be done indoors and outdoors. And I think I really knew that was going to happen, and because in 2003, one of the first 6 schools that I ever did, I had 17 kids sign up in a hallway to learn golf in a hallway.
Wow!
So we knew that there was demand, but we also knew that if you're going to expand this nationwide and really get throughout the country, it has to be able to be done anywhere. And the only thing that prohibits us is the amount of space that we have. So we do it in gymnasiums, we do it in hallways, we do it in auditoriums, classrooms, like I said, indoors and outdoors. It's just a matter of the space that prohibits the number of kids that can sign up for the program. But yeah, you're 100% correct. We want to keep people engaged with sport, and it can start with programs. That's for sure.
Yeah, one of the I guess criticisms I've had for the industry for a long time is, and I've been around it for many years, is that the perception that people have had, forget the money aspect for a moment, but is the fact that when any advertisements that you see pertaining to golf generally are focused around the competitive side of golf, the PGA, the LPGA Tour, or, maybe in a local or state level, you might see the AGGA and different organizations like that promoting their. But so when an individual sees that, right away, it works a little bit as a negative, unless they've kind of got that feeling inside that, hey, I'd like to do that, or I want to get out and play competitively. So right away, it's not being programmed or promoted as a sport for everybody that wants to just go out and have some fun. It's promoted, as more of a competitive. And I've had a lot of people over the years say that to me, that, well, I'm never going to be good enough to play that. And so that's obviously something that you guys, when you put this together, Joshua, that you've had to take into consideration. You've had to sort of change the mindset of those communities and say golf is not just about the PGA or the LPGA Tour. It's also about, just going out having fun with friends or family or whatever the case is. What did you do specifically that you can recall to really combat a lot of this mass marketing and mass media that's been done over decades? Was there anything specific that you tried to do to combat that?
Well, I think the industry it certainly does concentrate on the competitive aspects of golf, but I think the key is that the golf industry continues to focus on talking to golfers. And the way to combat this is to talk about golf to people who don't play in addition to current golfers, right? You want to retain your best customers,
right,
but you also want to engage new ones. And I think naturally, by growing the pie and growing that pyramid that we talk about, you're going to have people who aren't just interested in the competitive aspects of golf. I mean, if you go to a public course these days, you're seeing all walks of life. And that's a great thing. That's what golf needs.
Yes.
Now you brought up programs like Topgolf and some of their I think there's 2 or 3 competitors that they have already, because the model is sought after, right? It's basically bowling for golf, and it has some merit. Well, I mean, it kind of is if you think about it. I mean, it's a wonderful niche that they found, and they're filling a void. But overall, I mean, that's kind of what it is. And
sure.
And I think they're going to be tremendously successful with it. I'm curious to see how competition changes that model, but overall, if we can activate people who don't play and speak to them as much as we speak to people who do play, the industry has a higher probability of success. And when I talk about the industry, I'm including Topgolf and those competitors that are popping up into it, because whether or not it's bowling or golf or whatever we're going to call it, it's still a form of golf. And if we're promoting that, and they have great food there, and they have great ambiance, and they're going to have a greater probability of success themselves.
Yeah, Joshua, the reason why I'm laughing is on my previous segment on the Coach's Corner panel tonight, myself and my other earlier guests, we actually brought up Topgolf, and that was one of the things I said. It reminds me of when I was growing up, the same concept as, at that time it was the bowling alley. That's what we did as, we were teens, and, we wanted to get out of the house and mingle with friends, and it was a great social thing. But I'm like you. I mean, there's so many other options out there, and I hope, I wish whoever, whatever business, nothing but success. But I hope that they learn to find ways of expanding beyond that concept, and I think some of the competition coming out may find some other avenues as well, because you're obviously talking about a facility that, is going to have overhead and things like that, and eventually that roller coaster ride is going to come dip down again. So they need to have another way of funneling it on to another part of it, much like what you're doing with your programs. How does one start? If let's say a school, let's say an educator is listening to the program tonight and they're not familiar with that, how would they go about getting TGA to get involved in their school? What's the process and how does it work?
Well, first of all, you want to identify if we have a franchise in the area. Going back to the point of, golf is going to be grown with a local stakeholder in a community. And that's going to be one of the keys to success. So for us, we need to have a franchise in the area. And if they have that, we have a website, www.playtga.com. It has all the information on our programs. And schools can take a look at it and really see the nuts and bolts of it and how it can impact them and their students and their families. And we feel like we've really created a win-win proposition for that. They're very gracious in the sense that they give us access to their facilities and to their students and their families, and in return we provide a great enrichment program for them that is much more than just golf, and it really helps the community.
Yeah. Now, what from the franchisee, if you will, let's say you have somebody on the other side of the spectrum that maybe is in the golf industry, and again, maybe your organization is not in their community. They have several, schools that have expressed an interest. What would they need to do? How do they? I mean, obviously they can reach out to you, but what are you looking for in order to help set up a successful franchise?
In terms of finding out where they can get more information, or what are we looking for in terms of a successful franchisee?
The second part. What are you looking for as far as a successful franchisee?
So there's three things that we look for, from a general level. The first one is they need to be passionate about golf. The second one is they need to be passionate about kids, and the third one is they need to be passionate about their community. Because that's what we're doing. We're impacting all three of those concepts. So that's really the core of our successful franchise. And then from there, we want Type A personalities who want to go out there and they want to sell golf. And that's important because again, going back to the fact that the industry really just speaks to people who play golf for the most part. And in our case, we are talking to people who don't play. And when we walk into a school, they don't know a lot about the golf industry. I mean, 10% of our schools know what the PGA of America is. So there are challenges and barriers at all levels, and we need people who are outgoing and passionate about what they're doing. And that's I can't stress that enough. I mean, you've got PGA and LPGA professionals who are incredibly qualified to do what they do, and they're so passionate about growing the sport, but they're based predominantly at facilities. So they're talking to golfers. We need the same type of stakeholder who can go out to their general community who don't play and tell the same tale. Just to sort of clarify, so you're not necessarily looking for, and you may actually want something entirely different. You're not really looking for maybe, and that's not to say that you're omitting them, but necessarily a PGA or an LPGA professional, a teaching professional or a coach to necessarily spearhead a franchise in their area. I mean, that would be great on one hand, but again, because they're more facility-based, you're looking for somebody that obviously is passionate about the game and obviously wants to be able to grow it within their community, but they don't necessarily have to be a qualified or certified golf instructor. Is that correct? Am I on the right path there? Absolutely. Entrepreneurs come in all shapes and sizes, whether they're, we have a lot of PGA and LPGA professionals who run our program, but there's also entrepreneurs who are looking at making a livelihood out of growing golf and other sports in their area. And they're both wonderful solutions to the issue that we have in terms of growing participation. As far as the coaches that we have and the part-time coaches, again, all walks of life who actually conduct the programs. We have, college students, high school golfers, seniors, parents who want to give back, and it really runs the gamut. But I think one of the key points to stress is when it comes to introductory programs, you don't have to be a certified professional in order to teach them. You're not trying to make Tiger Woods. You're trying to get a kid excited about golf, and that will be contagious with your personality.
Right. I agree wholeheartedly. Joshua, what's been some of the feedback from the parents now? You've obviously you're obviously focusing on both parents and kids, but primarily you're trying to get the kids excited and interested. What's been some of the feedback so far from some of the parents that have their child has maybe gone through your programs at some of the schools? What's been some of the feedback that has helped you obviously to continue growing on and being successful? What's been some of the feedback so far?
Well, all of our parents get surveyed at the end of the class, so we're fortunate to be able to get very concrete feedback on our programs, which is great for us to be able to accelerate them and make them better. But I would say the primary compliment that we get is that we make it convenient. It's right at the school. It's right at the pre-K center. It's right at the community center. That's really what the parents love. We break down that barrier of transportation and cost, because you don't have to buy a set of clubs, you don't have to buy shoes, you don't have to buy balls, you don't have to buy all the things that it takes to start up to be a golfer if you're going to go right to the golf course. So the cost, the transportation issue, and the convenience that we solve, that's the top two compliments that we get. And then usually the third one is about the coaches. So it goes to show you that when it comes to growing introductory programs, the model and the way in which you scale it throughout the community is equally, if not as important as the curriculum that you use.
Now, what about, you're exactly right, I agree wholeheartedly. What about the schools themselves? What's been some of the feedback from the schools that you've now been involved with? Obviously, I'm sure that they're very excited the fact that you're bringing something new into their system that, again, is getting the kids kind of fired up as well. What's been some of the feedback from the school systems?
Well, I think when you create a win-win situation for the schools, that's really what they like. The first thing that they look at when we walk in is, okay, what's the liability? And we use balls that can be hit throughout anywhere inside the school. They don't break windows. They're not going to cause harm to the facility. Right. So they appreciate that. That's the first thing when you walk in. You say, hey, I'd like to teach golf. I'd like to teach a golf enrichment program at your school. They kind of look at you cockeyed. Right. But then they kind of they kind of loosen up once you throw one of our balls against the window and it doesn't break. They're like, oh, okay, I see how it works now. And you tell them you're going to bring in synthetic mats and you're not going to cause any damage to floors or anything like that. But the school districts like it. It's the same thing, right? With the economy that we have now, you have more dual income families than you ever had before. So it provides a great after-school solution. You're teaching them not only skill development with golf, but you're also teaching them life lessons, rules and etiquette, et cetera. And they love that as well. And then in a lot of cases, we actually give back a percentage of the revenue to the schools. So we actually become a fundraiser for them as well.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. Now, obviously, through word of mouth, not only through the kids and the parents, but also through the schools that you're not currently in, obviously, if they see that you're running a program at maybe another local school that they haven't adopted yet, this is obviously, again, goes to the win-win situation. It helps you get that foot in the door that much easier, correct?
That's correct. We've had instances where we've had professionals call us up and say, we tried to get into a school and they told us to go teach at a golf course. And so when you can show them a curriculum that brings all those characteristics that I just said, you become an extension of the classroom and they look at you as a partner rather than just another program trying to gain access to their kids. Right.
And I'm sure, like anything, you're obviously going to have some pushback as well. Now, you mentioned earlier in the beginning of the segment that you're in 250 plus schools. How many states is TGA, and what's some of your future plans as far as expansion goes? Where are you looking at targeting next specifically?
So actually, we partner with 250 facilities, but we're in about 3,400 schools across the country.
Okay.
So we're in I think it's 29 or 30 states now. Where we're really looking to grow and penetrate is the Midwest. That's going to be key for us. If you look at our chief demographics in who we hit, it kind of makes a U around the United States, starts in the Northwest and drops down, and then goes along the South and then up the Eastern Seaboard. That's where we're most concentrated, but there's a ton of opportunity to start a franchise up in almost every area. But that's really where our concentration is. The Midwest is going to be really key for us to penetrate next.
Yeah, and as you said, what's nice about the programs is the fact that because they can be run all year round, weather obviously is not, within reason is not. Obviously if you have major storms or things as we've experienced this year, there would be some issues. But, if you have a little snow on the ground or what have you, that's certainly not going to stop the programs from happening. And I think it's great what you're doing. Well, Joshua, I want to thank you for coming on, and I want to give you this last few moments opportunity just to, share with the viewers if they want to get more information, both about the program itself, but also maybe those that are listening out there that might be interested in pursuing a franchise opportunity with TGA, how they can go about doing that.
Thanks. The best way to do it is to go to playtga.com, and it's got a franchise section in it that you can click on. It's got all the information about the business, about the program, anything that you need to know about our program and the model is in there. So it's we've really strived hard to build the infrastructure and efficiency of our business to grow golf quicker within communities while providing an opportunity for people to earn a living doing this, being vested in growing the sport and building equity in a business that they can one day sell or keep for a long time, and we see it go both ways with the franchises that we have.
Well said. And what could the industry itself, what would you like to see happen? Obviously, you want to continue to expand your model, but what can the golf industry itself do to help encourage and gain some momentum, even further momentum than what's already been happening? What can we do on our end, I guess, to help further what your agenda is?
Well, I don't. It's not just my agenda. It's
right.
It needs to be. No, absolutely. It needs to be the industry's agenda, and that's growing the number of participants in our industry. But I think the key to doing that is to have everybody work together more, and also not concentrate so much on the competitive, programs. Right now, golf's in a good place. Obviously, Tiger came back today. Everyone's really excited about that.
Yep.
And what it does is, and there's a great misconception in the golf world, and that is that the popularity of the tour or tour players grow golf, and that's just not true. What they do is they increase the demand for us to grow golf. They increase the demand and the probability for us to create new golfers. But in order to do that, you have to have these introductory programs that can engage these potential new golfers. And that, to me, is where the industry can move forward together, whether it's with juniors, millennials, anyone, parents, etc. And that's what the industry can do, is to work together, create this player pathway, and continue to fund people, throughout our industry. Yeah,
I agree. And you've hit it right on the head. You're exactly right, Joshua. And I really hope, and I'm very confident, after speaking with her this past week, and I know obviously Susie Whaley quite well, but I have no doubt that when she takes over next year, that we're going to see some great initiatives being taken through the PGA of America that I think is going to help do exactly what you're talking about, because I think that's really part of her mission as well, is to, we all want to grow the game, and we talk about all different ideas and how we can do that, but as you said, it can't be all at the competitive level. It has to be in other areas of the pie as well. And I thank you, Joshua, for doing what you do with TGA Premier Golf. It's a great model, and I wish you much continued success. And please continue to reach out. If there's anything I can do to not only spread the word, but to help in any way, I'll be more than happy to. But thank you for joining me, Joshua, on Golf Talk Live. It's been fun.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the time.
All right. You have a great evening.
Thanks, man. We'll talk.
Yeah. All right. That was my very special guest, Joshua Jacobs, the CEO of TGA Premier Golf, joining me here on Golf Talk Live. And if you want to learn more about the concept itself of some of the programs that are offered, or maybe, as I said, you're interested in maybe learning more about franchising opportunities, go to www.playtga.com, and you can just navigate to the website there, and it has all the links necessary to find out more about what TGA has to offer, both as a franchisee and also maybe if you are in a school that would like to know more about what programs are offered. You can check them out there at playtga.com. I want to, once again, thank my very special guests on the Coach's Corner panel, Jon Decker and Clint Wright, for joining me here on Golf Talk Live tonight. Always enjoy having them on the Coach's Corner panel, and it's always a pleasure to have all of the coaches on. Of course, we have a good time, and we try to keep it light and fun and interesting, and hopefully we'll be able to do even more next year as we move in. And speaking of which, next Thursday, or actually let me back up, next Tuesday, December 5th, will be the last broadcast of the Women of Golf show with my co-host LPGA professional Cindy Miller and I for 2017. So December 5th will be the last, which airs from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern on blogtalkradio.com. And on December the 7th, which is next Thursday, will be the last episode broadcasting for Golf Talk Live here on the blogtalkradio.com network. And that airs from 6 to 8 p.m. Central. So December 5th, Tuesday, December 5th for the Women of Golf, and December 7th for Golf Talk Live will be the last shows for 2017. And then for the Women of Golf, we'll be firing back up again on February the 6th in 2018 for the Women of Golf, and respectively for Golf Talk Live will be February the 8th. And as I mentioned earlier, the Coach's Corner segment will be starting up the first Thursday of March. So it'll just be the regular broadcasts on February for Golf Talk Live, and then the Coach's Corner panel will be firing back up early part of March. So make sure you stay tuned to that. But on that note, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, and appreciate it always. Have a great time here. And just a couple of special thank yous to all of you, first off and foremost, for faithfully tuning in from literally all over the globe each and every week. It's through your efforts and your participation, in addition to the many great coaches and teach professionals, authors, and many of the entrepreneurs that have stopped by the show over the last several years. It's really through all of your participation that helped make Golf Talk Live a first-class show. And it's hard to believe, but we're going to be going into our 6th season for Golf Talk Live, and into, I believe, season 4 for the Women of Golf. So lots of great shows coming up. A special thanks also to some of the sponsors and supporters of the show, Mr. Jonathan Laird from South Coast Golf Guide. Go to southcoastgolfguide.com, and you can check that out as well. Great publication that he's been producing for over 20 years with some great golf courses in the southeastern part of the United States, from Texas right over here to the northwest part of Florida and all states in between. Meredith Kirk from Meredith Kirk Golf, a great LPGA teach professional out in the Myrtle Beach area. You can go to meredithkirk.com as her website and check out all of the great information that she has. Nikki and Tiffany Litherland, Nikki and his lovely wife Tiffany, thank you for all of your continued support. Nikki, of course, is a great golf professional as well, being a big supporter and fan of the show, and thank you for helping to spread the word over the years, and much continued success with your ventures as well. Mr. Bernie Pinder from Ontic Golf, a great line of customized putters. Go to onticgolf.com and you can check out those there. Thank you, Bernie, for all of your continued support. And Mr. Sean Kelly, the owner of linkedgolfers.com, a great social media site. Also the gentleman that began the social media golf group, Linked Golfers, on LinkedIn.com, the largest golf group. I think it's well over 46,000 members now around the world. He's taken that out to his own media platform, linkedgolfers.com. And lastly, my good friend, Mr. Peter Doyle from Doyle Golf Solutions over in Ireland, a great teacher professional as well as a club fitter as well. Thank you, Peter, for all of your continued support for the show as well. And on that note, thank you. I look forward to the last show next week right here on Golf Talk Live. I will see you next Thursday. God bless everybody and have a great weekend.